Okay, so the research that I'm doing at the moment, you may well remember a couple of months ago in the news hub, we had an item of news that talked about cyber attacks. And I laughed. It was about cybersecurity. I laughed due to the fact that I'm sure it was a government or it was a council that had come under cyber attack. And I mentioned about digital ID and how it was possibly not safe and was going to be rolled out in our country. It was a passing comment, but it was a comment nonetheless. Next one, critical cyber attacks on councils. Several London councils reported possible data theft after coordinating cyber incidents, raising concerns about local government security. How very, very interesting. So this is at councils. So we're talking about London councils. So London councils have reported this. And they want us to have a digital ID and tell us that all our information is going to be completely safe on this digital ID when the local councils are getting hacked. Cyber attacks. Just bear that in mind when they try and force you to move away from cash into a digital form of currency, when they try to basically put everything into your phone. Yeah, don't get me started on that. I had grave concerns when I knew that the UK were going to make it, or were trying to make it, compulsory for us to have a digital ID. And they did it under the guise of this will stop immigration. Not stop immigration, but, you know, effectively, you have to have a digital ID or you can't work in this country. You have to have a digital ID or you can't do anything in this country. And that would be better because then we'll be able to understand if we have illegal immigrants because they won't have a digital ID. So that was kind of the guise that it was given over. And I think, I mean, immediately my heckles were up. I don't want to be controlled. And you could sit there and you could say, oh, yeah, but you're not controlled. It's not a control over you. It's control over illegal immigrants, surely. Well, no, because Starmer, in his infinite wisdom, decided that this was going to be rolled out. We didn't really have a say. And he announced it, compulsory digital ID. And he intended to roll it out by, I think it was 2027. And rightly so. All of the campaigning groups were in uproar, as was I. We were effectively told that we didn't have a choice. So everybody took to their battle stations and went, yes, we do have a choice. We are the public. We elect you. You are here to serve us. And this is not something that serves us. So when it comes to digital ID, you can shove it up your ass because we're not having it. We're not having it. Oh, it'll only be in place for this and it'll only be in place for that. It's like, yeah, it starts as digital ID that is just for, you know, being able to work in this country. And then it will move on and it will be a digital ID that's linked to your National Health Service records. And it will be a digital ID that is linked to your bank. And everything will come under the purview of the digital ID, which means absolutely every bit of your information can be stolen by a cyber attack. And there is no way of safeguarding against somebody who is proficient when it comes to computing, who knows how to get into systems to steal data. It's proven. So to say that we have to have a digital ID, like I say, the whole country were in uproar. Absolute uproar. And there were petitions and people voiced opinions. And there was a lovely guy called, I call him a lovely guy. I don't know if he's a lovely guy. He may well not be. But what I've heard of him and what I've seen of him, I agree with quite a lot of what he says. And it surprises me because he's an MP. I was really quite surprised. And his name's Robert Lowe. And he went to other MPs, his fellow MPs, his peers, and said, this is not acceptable. This is not an acceptable thing to place upon the British population and to make it compulsory or even mandatory. I don't know if you know the difference between compulsory and mandatory. Compulsory is you have to or will. Mandatory is this is going to happen and you're basically going to like it or lump it. So, yeah, he got a load of other MPs and he effectively lobbied them to stand with him in Parliament and tell Starmer to fuck off. There's no other way to put it. We're not having it. And he became the voice of the people. And I want to share with you something that happened yesterday, because I was genuinely pleased when it happened. I'll share him with you now, but I also have reservations, and I'll talk to you about those after I shared him with you.
Good evening, everybody. Good news. Keir Starmer has just announced he's abandoned plans to implement compulsory digital ID. I think this is hugely good news for all of us. It shows what can be achieved when sensible MPs get together and with public support make their views known. Nearly 50 MPs signed my open letter to Keir Starmer on this subject, to which we were implacably opposed. And I think we can say this is a victory for common sense. It's a victory for all of us. And we can safely say now that we retain our freedom. Another slice of it has not passed to an oppressive nanny state. We've got 3 more years to go, and we must collectively use this as the template to fight the nonsense that's being peddled and promulgated in this country now. So well done, everybody. Have a large drink to celebrate this evening.
I did have a large drink. I had a glass of wine and I lifted my glass of wine to Robert Lowe and said, congratulations. Congratulations on doing something when it comes to left and right, and that it's all I've talked about this many, many times. It doesn't matter who's in power. It doesn't matter about left and right. We have global puppet masters that are pulling the strings of our politicians. That's why I fondly call them puppeticians, because it doesn't matter who's in power. This digital ID is coming from a global stance. This is something that who are they? This is something that the global puppeteers want. They want to be able to track absolutely everything that you do, everything that you say, everything you post. And if they had their way, Elon Musk would be planting things in your brain to be able to understand and look at everything you think. And mark my words, that's the next thing that we're going to be fighting. So hats off to Robert Lowe. He brought the left and the right out of their respective sides and got everybody together to say no. But I am not under any illusion. There's a 3-pronged assault that's happening at this exact moment in time. The first prong is the digital ID. And that is something that has been knocked out of the park for now. The second prong is facial recognition technology. And I find that really quite worrying. I didn't know that there was facial recognition technology in various communities in our country already. It's not something that has been spoken about to the public. It's not something that has been debated. It's not something that we have been consulted on at all. But there is facial recognition technology in various cities in our country already. And I find that quite concerning. This is James Melville. And he says, the Labour government have admitted that digital ID is not being abandoned. Instead, they are watering down the word compulsory while still continuing to develop the framework and machinery for digital ID in many ways. What still remains in place within their policy framework, the right to work digital ID checks remain mandatory. So if you want to work in this country, you're going to need a digital ID. Digital ID will automatically checked against a central database. So if you do have a digital ID, it's going to be checked against a central database. A consultation will decide which forms of digital ID will still be rolled out by 2029. So they're going to consult us. And I've got my driving license due to be renewed by the end of this year. So that will have to go off. And I questioned as to whether I would automatically be given a digital ID. And I was told, no, I can opt out of the digital ID system. So when it comes to a driving license, they were already trying to give you a digital ID driving license, but you have to opt out. It's not you have to opt into the digital ID driving license. You have to opt out. You have to let them know that you don't want the digital ID. And the same with passports. You have to opt out. But I find it really interesting that when it comes to social media, our government is now looking at age restrictions applied to social media platforms. So an age restriction of, say, 16 or 18 before you can go onto a social media platform. And they're effectively saying that you need to have a digital ID in order to access that kind of a platform. And that will be something that will be considered for the future as well. So if you want to live your life, if you want to continue in society, they are going to, even though you don't have to have a digital ID, they're going to make it incredibly difficult for you to function in society without one. And the latest controversy and drama is babies being born and automatically being given a digital ID. So the likes of me and people my age, so in their 60s, the likes of me, it won't hugely affect because we're already established, we're already doing what we're doing, and our digital ID, we don't have to opt in because we already have all of our structures and our abilities within society in place. But my concern, and is always my concern, is for our youth. I've said many times that our youth grow into our next generation of free thinkers. Our youth grow into our next generation of amazing people who achieve incredible things. And if they're suppressed, and if they're curtailed, and if they're controlled from the day they're born, that is not good. So this is my fear. They are going to hold more talks in 2029. They're going to look at rolling out the digital ID, but I think before 2029, so that's 3 years from now, I think over the next 3 years, we will incrementally see a curtailment of what you are able to do within society if you don't have a digital ID. That's what's going to happen. So we have this official. Anyone starting a job would have been required to show the digital ID, which would then be automatically checked against a central database of those entitled to work in the UK. While right to work checks will still be mandatory, other forms of documentation, such as an electronic visa or a passport, will be valid. A consultation to start within weeks will explore which verification checks could be used. The government said, "We are committed to mandatory digital right to work checks. We have always been clear that details on the digital ID scheme will be set out following a full public consultation, which will launch shortly. Digital ID will make everyday life easier for people, ensuring public services are more personal, joined up, and effective, while also remaining inclusive." No. As soon as digital ID brings services, all the services that we use within society together, it's a recipe for absolute disaster. It's a recipe for curtailment of your freedom. It's awful. Okay. Then I found out something which I thought was even more disturbing. I found out. Well, I'll let this young man, John Han, tell you. You may have never had any interaction with police and never been arrested, but it's now likely that you will still be on the police facial recognition database in the UK. Why? Because the Passport Office gave them all of your data without even asking you, leaving you open to a loss of privacy and potential legal issues. It's only 2.5 minutes long, and I listen to this.
I would imagine that most of you are under the impression that if you've never been arrested for a crime, charged with a crime, or convicted of a crime, that you won't be on the police database. Unfortunately, you're wrong. Why is that? Well, because with the advent of facial recognition technology, CCTV technology, and the fact that this is now being rolled out everywhere, from high streets to supermarkets to airports to train stations to everywhere else, there are facial recognition TV cameras being installed pretty much everywhere, which can identify people, everyone as they walk along the road. But as I say, you would think that's not going to identify you, because unless you've previously been arrested, charged, convicted, nicked, but you're not going to be on those databases. However, the Passport Office, the British Passport Office, sold their database or gave their database to the police. And the vast majority of it has been uploaded to the police database. So if you have a passport and you have a passport photo, that's very likely now on the police database. So you are now subject to facial recognition technology, even if you've never done anything wrong. Do you view that as an invasion of your privacy? Particularly when the stats say that quite a large proportion of facial recognition stops and searches are subsequently found out to be wrong, that the technology isn't infallible, that it does make mistakes, not a lot of the time, but some of the time. So your face has been added to a police database without your permission, without you ever even being asked. You're now subject to that facial recognition technology, potentially flagging you up wrongly, and therefore potentially opening you up to police investigations, harassment, a little knock on the door, when it's nothing to do with you. So not only is it invasion of privacy, it could potentially lead you into legal situations in which you have no involvement. Am I saying that happens a lot or is going to happen all the time? No, absolutely not. Of course it doesn't. But it could happen and you were never asked. Your permission was never given. Nobody even knew about it. Go and look on the Big Brother Watch website and see what Silky Carlo and the Big Brother Watch team have to say about this. It's a massive invasion of privacy. And it's a massive disgrace that the Passport Office just passed on all of our private information without even asking any of us. So you're now on the list and you're waiting for a knock on the door.
So that was disturbing. That was really disturbing. I couldn't believe it when I found that out. I didn't realise that just having a passport means that you're now part of the police database. Just having a passport. So from a facial recognition point of view, the biometrics of your face are already part of a system if you have a passport. If you don't have a passport, I would suggest not getting one. If you want to travel, obviously you have to have a passport. So they're two parts of the three parts that I told you about. The third part is the central digital bank. What do they call it? Central banking digital currency. This massive move to get rid of cash from the control perspective and from the global puppeteers. They don't want you to have any cash. They don't want you to freely be able to spend what you earn at all. They want to monitor it. They want to keep an eye on it. They want to see where you put your pennies. They want to know what you're buying. They already know what you're buying because there are people post on Facebook. But I mean, they already know what you're buying. But the bottom line is they want to be able to stop you from buying certain things if they want to. So if they bring in, I don't know, let's look at the fact that they don't want us to, greenhouse gases and emissions and COP30. We don't want you to eat beef anymore. So you're going to eat just vegetables and only the vegetables that we say you can eat. If we're part of this CBDC, then they can turn off our account if we try and buy something that they don't agree with. So another control mechanism. So they're the three prongs that I'm really concerned about. And like I say, not really for me. Like I'm in the last trimester of my life. So I mean, I intend to live till I'm about 120 anyway. So just to piss them off. So I'm probably halfway through my life. However, again, it's for our youth, it's for our children, it's for our babies. It's for the hope of the future for our youth. Because if this all goes through now, the children that are being born today, this year, it's going to be the norm. It's going to be normal. And when I jokingly said, the next thing they'll do is put implants into you so they can monitor your thoughts. That's going to be, the latest implants come out. I'm going to have that. That will be the youth because we've accepted it. We've accepted that digital ID is okay. We've accepted that facial recognition software in all of our towns and cities is okay. We've accepted that, no, you can control where I spend my money by putting everything into digital currency and getting rid of cash. If we accept that now, if we accept any of those three things now, our children will be born into a dystopian world. And that, in my mind, is not acceptable. So this, alongside the other things I'm researching at the moment, this is huge. This is massive for the health and well-being of the world. Because this is not just the UK. This is not just our country. It is the world that are going through these same control bids. Like, we're worker bees, and it's the global puppet masters that decide what we can do, think, say, where we can go. And unless we fight it now, this is going to be a massive problem for the future.